Hey friends, Junior Staggs with Auctioneer University, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be one of the sponsors of a brand new show that's going to be produced by my friends at Brewer Street Mafia and Kell Media. It's called SPORTSCAST with Jeremy Buckelew. It'll be recorded live every Sunday night at 7:30. So if you're into sports, I like Alabama football. Maybe you're a Tennessee fan. Maybe you're into one of those foreign sports like soccer or cricket or rugby. I'm sure he'll cover it all, from local sports to professional sports and everything in between, every Sunday night, 7:30. While you're at it, go over there and give him a like. And if you're thinking about becoming an auctioneer, check out our website, Auctioneer U. That's auctioneer, the letter U.com.
In a world that moves way too fast, there's one place that feels like home. Tater's Place in Paris, Tennessee, where the sizzle of a smash burger meets the sound of laughter, and every plate tells a story. Bring the family, make memories, and taste the love in every bite. Live music, real people, and unforgettable food. That's Tater's Place, 3615 Highway 79 North. Find the flavor you've been missing at Tater's Place. Come and feel what you've been hungry for.
Well, good evening, and here we are live with SPORTSCAST with Jeremy Buckelew. Of course, I'm your host, Jeremy Buckelew. Good to have you with us tonight. First show, and so we're live here at the Brewer Street Mafia Studios, and who knows what's going to happen, but we got a good show for you tonight. I hope you'll enjoy it, as Coach Josh Wolfe with the Henry County Patriots is here with us. But first, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Junior Staggs and Auctioneer University, and to Taters for their sponsorship of SPORTSCAST. We couldn't be here without them, and we appreciate them. And so just also a quick reminder that tonight we are live on the Mike Weatherford Show's Facebook page, as well as myparistv.com and the myparistv.com YouTube page. That's where you can catch our show every week here for the first little bit. And I say for the first little bit because Facebook has this weird rule where if you are wanting to live stream on a program or on a show, you have to be 60 days in, and you have to have 100 likes on that page. And so while I'm saying that, I encourage you, I beg you, implore you to please go to the SPORTSCAST with Jeremy Buckelew Facebook page, like it, follow it, subscribe, share it with your friends, get the word out that this is going on, and get our followers built up so that Facebook will let us live stream on our own platform, and we can give Mike his platform back. And so, but again, glad you're with us tonight. We're going to be live every Sunday night at 7:30, right here from the studio with a different guest each week. And as I said tonight, really excited about the guy I've got sitting over here to my left, brand new Henry County head football coach, Josh Wolfe, he's not new to Henry County, but new to the head coaching position at Henry County. So, Coach, glad to have you with us here tonight in the studio. We're going to start each show with, there's so much going on in the world, and usually it's all, bad news, and a lot of bad news out there anyway, but what's the best thing that you've seen this week?
First of all, man, I'm so excited to be here. Appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to come on and, kind of sell our football program. This studio is awesome. I wish you guys could see it. I got a little nervous when I came here and my hands started sweating because, it's such a cool deal. But, man, probably the best thing I've seen this week, we had the floods and stuff going on, which, obviously was not a great thing for our area. But just to brag on BPU, I just saw those guys just get out and just make sure people had power and, battle the storms and stuff like that. So big shout out to BPU and, our Henry County Sheriff's Department. Just doing great things and, keeping people with power during the storm. Of course, that's non-sports. Now, sports related, because this is a sports show. Probably the next best thing I saw was probably the ending of that Duke and Houston game.
That was I was borderline on that one being mine, but go ahead.
Oh, my gosh. I think Houston was down maybe like 9 points with less than a minute left to go in the game. I thought when that kid reached over the line out of bounds, that was going to seal the deal for him, but huge comeback win for them, huge game in the Final Four. So that was probably the next best thing I saw this week.
It's one of those situations where it's cliche, but it ain't over till it's over.
Right.
Like you were right down, like what was it? I think they were down 7 with 30 seconds to go in that ball game and ended up winning by 3. I had that as the best thing I've seen this week as well. It was paired right there with the comeback win by the Henry County Patriot baseball team on Monday night. So a lot of you know that I get to broadcast the baseball games for the radio station, and we were out there Monday night. Henry County got up 1-0, and then in the top of the 6th inning, I think. Yeah, 6th inning, West Creek scored 2 runs, went up 2-1. Henry County got down in the bottom of the 7th to their last out. Got 2 outs, first 2 batters right up, 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. Peyton Littleton singles, I think, in the center field. Levi Peel lays down a bunt that was one of the prettiest bunts I've seen in a long time, Coach. I don't know how big a baseball fan you are, but it was the prettiest bunt. I mean, it just rolled down the first base line and stayed fair. Peyton goes from first to third on that. And so it's 2-1, 2 outs, man on first and third. They intentionally walked Brock Archie. Don't blame him one bit for that if you know Brock. Chase Cameron comes up, draws a bases loaded full count, and then eventually gets the walk. Tying run comes across, and then next pitch is a wild pitch, and Henry County scores to get the win, a big district win over West Creek on Monday night. And then, of course, we went to their place Tuesday night and run-ruled them. But that was probably the best thing that I saw this week, along with, as you said, the Duke basketball game last night. I don't want to – I mean, you're a sports guy. We can talk sports. Yeah. That's the whole point of this show, as you said. And so I don't want to harp on it too much, but the kid that for Duke, the Proctor kid, 60% free throw shooter, and held on to the basketball when the foul's coming. I thought about that as far as football terms. Yeah. That's like having like Saquon Barkley in your backfield and running a 3-yard. It's like 4th and 4, and you call a QB keep with Jared Lorenzen or something like that. If those who remember Jared Lorenzen from the Kentucky Wildcats, he was about 300 pounds at quarterback back there. Yeah. But you got Saquon. I thought the Proctor kid should have got rid of the basketball. But again, hey, who cares what I think? I'm just some guy sitting at home watching the ball game. But Houston goes on. So who you have tomorrow night? Houston versus Florida, NCAA championship. Who you going with, Coach?
Man, it's really hard to pick between those two. Florida's just playing just awesome basketball right now. But Coach Kelvin Sampson, I mean, his guys are tough.
Sure.
Obviously they're resilient the way they came back and won that game last night. So I don't know, it'll probably be a coin toss. I say heads, Florida, tails, Houston. I don't know. I ain't got a coin. You got one?
I don't.
Have to flip one.
That's not a bad plan because you're right. They match up really well. I'm just an SEC guy.
Yeah.
Like I want the SEC to do well in everything, and so you would never hear me in any other circumstance say that I'm rooting for the Florida Gators.
Right.
But tomorrow night, I guess I'm rooting for the Florida Gators just for the SEC to win.
Right. Fair enough.
But that's just me.
Fair enough. I got a guy that worked with me at West Carroll, Tyler Whiteley. He is a huge Florida fan, so. I don't know if he's listening, but shout out to Tyler Whiteley. Florida Gators getting to the national championship. He said it back in November, so I guess he was right.
One of my I think Case was telling me that they've got a class or something that did a bracket at school, and if they had Florida to win it, like if Florida wins, I don't know, they get some candy or something like that. I don't know.
Can't beat a pizza party.
You never can beat a pizza party.
No,
but anyway.
No.
So, Coach, again, I said it in the opening, but new to Henry County as the head football coach. Of course, you were with us a couple years ago here under Coach Counts. Mm-hmm. And but a lot of folks out there just want to hear from Coach Wolfe. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you played, that kind of stuff. I'm going to put you on the spot here and let you just talk about yourself for a minute. But tell the folks about Coach Josh Wolfe.
Man, it's probably the hardest thing, to do. And, I've interviewed for a few jobs over, my career, and it's always the hardest thing to do. And you got to go in there and talk about yourself, man, because, I try to model myself as a pretty humble guy because my mom made sure I was really humble growing up. I got a lot of whoopings. But now, man, I'm just a little country boy from a little town called Tresvant, right up the road, the metropolis, Tresvant, Tennessee. I was born and raised on Pojo's Hill. That's what I tell everybody. It doesn't mean anything to most people, but it means everything to me, man. So I grew up down the road, went to West Carroll, played football, baseball, basketball. I just stayed busy because, it gave me a reason not to be at the house doing my chores, let my mom tell it. I had a really good upbringing, man. Growing up in a small town, everybody kind of looks out for you. So, that community just they kind of looked out for me, man. They kind of pushed me to, get to an opportunity to be the head football coach in Henry County. So, I appreciate all those people in Tresvant and West Carroll that, really poured into me growing up.
Sure. Do you have to drive 30 through Tresvant still as a resident or as from being from there?
Yeah.
And do you have to slow down and do the 30 miles an hour all the way through that area?
I do, because, I was the head coach there. You're probably going to ask me about that later. So, when I left, they said, well, you're Tresvant.
You've lost your
privileges. More
privileges.
than 30 passes has been revoked. So, you got to slow down like everybody else. But yeah, actually I had one of my assistant coaches, I won't call his name, he got a ticket going through Tresvant. He called me and said, hey, Wolfe, you know anybody in Tresvant? Man, I got a ticket. I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know if they'll get you out of this one when I left there. So
they may hold a grudge.
Yeah, they may hold a grudge. No, I don't think so. I don't think
good.
so.
Good. But anyway, you're from Tresvant. Go ahead.
So I'm from Tresvant, man. And like I said, grew up in that small town and, again, played everything, was in every club at school. I tried to make good grades, man, because my mom was really strict, man. She didn't play that stuff. I think I remember, which, small town, so my second grade teacher and my mom were, they were pretty good friends. They played basketball together growing up. And I actually got in trouble. So I'll tell this story. I got in trouble. I got in trouble for cheating on a spelling test when I was in second grade. Man, it's terrible. My son's watching.
Don't cheat on tests.
Don't
kids.
cheat on
That's
spelling
not the lesson.
tests. I'm not trying to teach y'all to do that. I'm telling you a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. So I got caught cheating on a spelling test in the second grade. And again, my teacher, Miss Pam Joyner, my mom, Miss Pam Bryant and my mom were really good friends. And so I had my little cheat sheet in my backpack on the back of my desk. And, she's calling out words, and, I'm like, man, I know that one, so I write it down. And then she calls out one that's a little tricky, so I kind of look back there, and, I'm like, all right, okay, good. I needed that little help. When she came over there, and I guess she saw me, she took my cheat sheet out of my backpack, man. And then, I got a little nervous. So I thought she might call my mom. And the next period, she called me out in the hallway, and my mom was out there. And I can't tell everybody what she said on
waiting
live
for
TV.
you?
Yeah, she was waiting on me. So I learned my lesson. So I didn't cheat on any more tests. So kids, don't cheat. But
because you don't want your mama waiting down the hallway for you.
They may call my mom. So small town, everybody knows everybody. But man, I went through school at West Carroll, and I had a really good opportunity. I played football, and I don't know if I was any good. Some games I was better than others, but I got an opportunity to go play college football at Lambuth University in Jackson. So I went there and played 4 years. Man. Just kind of started off, things were rocky early on. Like my freshman year, I think we were 3-6, man. Dropped probably 4 games by less than a touchdown. It was a really rough year. And then my sophomore year, we were 6-4. We missed the playoffs by 2 games. We dropped by less than 10 points. And then my junior year, we won the conference, man. It was great. Won the conference my junior year. Went to North Dakota. That was my first plane ride, actually. My only plane ride. I've only flown a plane one time.
I understand.
So I had a good time at Lambuth, man. Met some lifelong friends there. And then, when I graduated, I started the master's program at UT Martin, and I actually taught preschool in Jackson. Okay. So, so I'm a big, 240-pound guy, just got done playing linebacker in college, and I'm teaching preschool. So, some of those moms dropped those kids off, they kind of looked at me kind of funny, like, oh, who is this guy?
Hey, listen, I bet those workers loved you, and here's why I say that. My daughter, Kenna, is in Fayetteville, Arkansas at school, and she works at an after-school program, and they've got some kids there who don't always want to listen and do what they're told. You probably can sympathize with that a little bit.
I don't have many of those,
right? Not now,
County,
but of course.
There's probably some out there.
But I think it one of the custodial staff is ex-military, and she says 6'4", and so when he sees the kids acting up, he'll be like, hey, what are y'all doing? And they get right in line. Yeah. I bet when Coach Wolfe steps into that preschool class back all those years ago, those kids got in line pretty quick.
It was a fun experience. I'll just say that, man. But, that's where I got my start. And, I think the Lord was leading me, where I was going because, I did that for a year. And then Kevin Ward was at Camden at the time. He had just taken the job, I think, in 2002 or 2003. So this was 2007. So Kevin called me that summer, man. I got a chance to come up and talk with him, and so he hired me. And I started my coaching career at Camden. I was there for 8 years. Kind of started off as a position coach, and worked my way up to defensive coordinator my last 4 years, and got a really unique opportunity to go be the head coach at my alma mater, West Carroll. So I went and done that for 6 years, 2015 season and 2020. We won some games, man. West Carroll's program was kind of, we were kind of in the dumps. They had a few good years, and it was kind of one of those ride the roller coaster deals, at that program. And, we were trying to bring some consistency, and I thought we'd done a good job. The coaches and those kids just kind of buying into what we were doing. So, those last 3 years we had a lot of success. We were, made the second round once, and then the quarters the last 2 years I was there. And of course I had a little boy, and man, he was getting older, and and things were changing at West Carroll. The administration was changing. So I ended up going back to Camden, man, so I get my little boy in school, just kind of be a part of that. And I was at Camden for a year, and then I, James and I had been talking because I was playing in the Jamboree over here when I was at West Carroll. So James and I got to be good friends, and John Davidson, he come bring the tickets for the Jamboree. So John and I got to be big buddies, man, and I probably had no idea that making those connections would lead me back to be the head coach here, in 2025. So, but anyways, I came to Henry County the fall of 22. And had some really good success. I was here for 2 years, and then I got a good opportunity, man, just to go be a coordinator at Milan. Coach Comer took that job over there last year, and he called me, and it wasn't that I wanted to leave Henry County. It was just it was one of those deals. I was teaching outside of my content area when I was here, and Milan had a position for me to get back into the gym, doing PE. Sure. And so, it was a good opportunity. And, again, I had a lot of respect for Coach Comer. His son actually worked for me in 2020, my last year at West Carroll. So I went to Milan, and we had a good year, made it to the state championship, probably a handful of plays away from winning it. But, I won't dwell on that anyhow. I learned some things. But, man, here I am. Some things happened. Like I said, I think there was a little divine intervention. Sure. And, I made some really good friends here, colleagues and stuff, and I just had a really good time here those 2 years I was here. Right. Loved the kids, loved the community. And like I said, it's just really a blessing to be able to come back as the head football coach for sure.
I know we're thrilled to have you back here in Henry County. When the announcement was made that you had been hired, I called and talked to some people, and one of them that I talked to was just about to just jump through the phone with excitement that Coach Wolfe had been hired as the head coach at Henry County. Awesome. So I know that the kids love you. We're looking forward to you being back. You talked about that head coaching position, and you come from you've got your own coaching tree, as they say, but the coaching tree that you come from, you said they're in Camden with Kevin, and then you said under Coach Comer at Milan this last year. You got Coach Counts. Those are some pretty big names as far as West Tennessee football. Does that put any pressure on you? I know that's what kind of question is that? But you know what I mean? Here you've coached for these guys, and now you're the man at Big 5A Henry County.
I don't know if it puts any pressure on me per se. I think it makes it a little easier just the transition, obviously because I've been a head coach before, but, those guys, they've been doing it at a high level for a long time, man. And I stole everything that I do as a head coach, I'll be honest. And I stole a lot from them. Kevin actually worked for Don Cody at Westview for a long time. And actually Don Cody worked for, Count Senior at Henry County. So really, my coaching tree goes back to Count Senior. If you look at it, because I got my start under Kevin. Right. Kevin started under Don. Don was with with Big James. So and a lot of people don't know that about my coaching tree, man. But a lot of the stuff that I've done over my career, transitioning from assistant coach to coordinator to head coach, man, it was just from those lessons that I learned from those guys. Coach Ward. And, Coach Blow was my head coach the 4 years before I left, and Coach Blow worked for Mike Mansfield at Huntington. So, and actually Coach Mansfield and I have developed a really good relationship. He actually came out to practice a few times during the spring, man. And his grandson and my son actually played flag football on the same team this fall. So I got a chance to talk to him a bunch. But, just making those connections with people. And I tell people in interviews, I'm like, man, you only know so much as a guy, as a guy, you only know so much. So like, you gotta have a cohort of people, a team of guys that you can rely on when you run into a jam. I remember my first year at West Carroll, I had a player get killed in a car accident my second week on the job. And, it's just a really tough situation, for a young head coach,
Sure.
first time out the gate. And I really leaned on those, those relationships that I had with those older coaches. And, that a lot of them hadn't been in that situation before, and they was like, Wolfe, man, I've never had to deal with that.
It's not something that every day
Absolutely.
you go into work and have to figure out how you're going to work your way through it.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
So it was really challenging for me, just in my growth, as a human being, first of all,
Sure.
as a head coach, secondly, but again, just going back to the question about pressure, I'm like, man, I think it makes it a lot easier for me because I've called Coach Comer, just in the transition. He understood, this was an awesome
Sure.
opportunity for him, man. He really supported me in the process. So, I've called him like, hey, what do you think about this? I talk to Kevin all the time, down at Croc, hey, like I got this going on, what do you think about this? So I got those guys to lean on, man. It really helps out. And I'll tell, any of my coaches that, may transition to head coaches down the road, I want to be that for them. Cause I want to support them. Because I wouldn't be where I am, having this opportunity if it weren't for those guys.
Sure.
So.
And I see this a lot in with church stuff that I'm involved with, but you don't ever want to begrudge someone
Right.
for bettering themselves
Right.
and moving up, and so I'm sure that coaching's the same way. I'm sure you would love it if one of your guys came to you and said, "Hey, coach, I've gotten this opportunity to go be whatever at this place, and I think it's a good fit for me," and you wouldn't hold that against them for anything in the world.
No,
So,
not at all, man. And I tell my guys, I've told my guys in the past, I'm like, man, listen, you get opportunities, they're going to come because you do a good job. Opportunities are going to come, and I'm never going to keep you from, pursuing something that's going to make you better. Give you an opportunity to grow. So. Yeah, I encourage that, and the guys that I work for, they've encouraged me to do that. And again, that's why I've had, gotten this opportunity.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm going to support my assistant coaches, man. And, if they get opportunities to go, be head coaches or be coordinator somewhere, go to a big school, or go to a small school, somewhere where their family is, man. I'm going to support them. Now, obviously, I want to keep all
Sure.
of them.
Sure.
And I'm going to do all I can to keep them. I'm going to try to twist them like, hey, man, listen, I want to keep you, man, but I'm not going to, throw a hurdle in their way if they got an opportunity to better themselves. Not at all. So
I want to go back a little bit. You were talking about playing at Lambeth, and before we came on, you were telling me a funny story about you had to change your name while you were there at Lambeth. Tell the fine folks of Henry County and those listening how you became Jason Wolfe.
Yeah. Yes. So it's kind of funny, we were talking, we came on, just making sure my name was spelled right. And so I played at Lambeth. I'm a rural West Tennessee kid. The Jackson Sun covered me all through my high school career, baseball, basketball, football, badminton, FCA, the whole 9 yards. So we're playing in a really big game, man. My junior year in 2003, we're playing Georgetown College. Georgetown's coming off of back-to-back national championship teams, and we got them on the ropes. We're playing really good on defense. I mean, like, we have not given up offensive touchdown. I think it's 20-14, and they got the ball down there inside the 10-yard line. It's early in the fourth quarter, and it's fourth down. And I had a linebacker that played next to me, and he was from Hawaii, and his name was Bingham Tuitsumatatelli. And they really like to call his name over the loudspeaker, and they like to put his name in the print media just to show that they could spell it. So
kind of like Nico Iamaleava.
Correct. It's like I'm gonna put Nico
yeah.
in there as much as I can, just to show that I got this spelling thing down. So I'll make a play on fourth down. Boom, go in there and make a play. Keep them from scoring. Huge huge play in the game, man. And of course, we end up winning. And after the game, we're high-fiving, we're having a good time in the locker room, and the media comes there, Jackson's son come in there, and they're like, "Man, Bingham, you made that play on 4th down." Bingham's like, "No, that was my boy Wolfe." So anybody from I hope some of my guys from Lambeth are listening, because they can kind of they can kind of appreciate my mocking Bingham's voice. But anyhow, so you're like, "No, that was my boy Wolfe." So they come over, they're like, "Well, Wolfe, that was a good play, John, you went to West Carroll." I'm like, "Yeah, I went to West Carroll. My name's Josh Wolfe, blah, blah, blah." We talk about the whole play. Well, the article comes out. They do a whole little thing. It's like on the front page of the sports section, Like, it's a little write-up, Wolfe, makes a big stop. Yeah. And they start the article off, Josh Wolfe from West Carroll, da-da-da-da-da. And then the rest of the entire article, they call me Jason Wolfe. I'm like, "Man, that is awesome." They're local media. I'm like, "I'm from here. Like, if that was Bingham, y'all would have got his name right." So I was kind of salty about that for a little while. But, I got over it. And Brandon Shields was running the sports section for the Jackson Sun when I was the head coach at West Carroll. And I told him that story. So I said, "Man, if you ever call me Jason Wolfe in an article, I'm going to be upset." So they hadn't called me Jason Wolfe since. So.
I can sympathize with those guys a little bit, because I was telling you that, we're doing the play-by-play for the radio this year. Griffin Wood is my color man. Griffin, appreciate you. But there would be a play happen, and it would be across the field, and it would be, Noah McClure or somebody would make a tackle, and I'd be like, "Oh, Martez Rack with a great tackle," and Griffin would be like, "Actually, that was Noah McClure," and I'm like, "Oh," and so. It was just I love the story of you becoming Jason Wolfe during your time at Lambeth.
My time at Lambeth.
Well, Coach, we're going to take a break and hear from our sponsors again. Then when we come back out of this, we're going to talk some Henry County football, and y'all stay with us. We'll be right back with Coach Josh Wolfe after these messages.
Hey friends, Junior Staggs with Auctioneer University, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be one of the sponsors of a brand new show that's going to be produced by my friends at Bruce Street Mafia and Kel Media. It's called SPORTSCAST with Jeremy Buckelew. It'll be recorded live every Sunday night at 7:30. So if you're into sports, I like Alabama football. Maybe you're a Tennessee fan. Maybe you're into one of those foreign sports like soccer or cricket or rugby. I'm sure he'll cover it all, from local sports to professional sports and everything in between, every Sunday night, 7:30. While you're at it, go over there and give him a like. And if you're thinking about becoming an auctioneer, check out our website, Auctioneer U. That's auctioneer, the letter U.com.
In a world that moves way too fast, there's one place that feels like home. Tater's Place in Paris, Tennessee, where the sizzle of a smash burger meets the sound of laughter, and every plate tells a story. Bring the family, make memories, and taste the love in every bite. Live music, real people, and unforgettable food. That's Tater's Place, 3615 Highway 79 North. Find the flavor you've been missing at Tater's Place. Come and feel what you've been hungry for.
Back here on SportsCast with Jeremy Buckelew. I'm your host, Jeremy Buckelew, here with Coach Josh Wolfe this week of the Henry County Patriots, and going to talk a little Henry County Patriot football. Now, Coach, you said you were here a couple years ago, made a couple of deep, correct me if I'm wrong, but for both of your years, we would have been playing in semifinal playoff games, right?
Semifinals in 22, and then we were in the quarters in 23.
Okay. So, but head coach now in charge of the program, how, I know you've only been there, a handful of weeks, but what have you seen? What are you excited about? That was one of the questions that we posed, or that somebody had sent in, was what is Coach Wolfe most excited about when it comes to Henry County football? So just kind of talk about the program here for the next little bit, and what you're seeing, what you're working for. And
man, listen, I just want to commend the players and the assistant coaches for, keeping the standard here. Sure. In the midst of all the the change and the turmoil that happened, we won't speak on the specifics, but man, when I got here, like, I was just so excited, just to see all those kids that I worked with before, just to see their maturation, man. Like, they had grown, they had gotten bigger, they had gotten stronger, some of them gotten taller, some of them had beards and stuff, man. So I was just so excited to see those kids, man. But, just from a program standpoint, I can't say enough about those assistant coaches, man. Like they kept things going as if nothing had happened, and those kids worked their butts off, and they came to work every day and just didn't miss a beat. I mean, they literally did not miss a beat, and that's a testament to just the culture that Henry County football has, as a whole.
Well, I want to say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but not only the kids, but the coaches as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, you think about, let's be honest, it was 3 coaches in a matter of 2 months, something like that. Yeah. And so that's quite a bit to deal with, not only from the kids, but from the coaches as well. They handled it like champs.
Absolutely.
And, that's a testament to them as well.
Absolutely. I tell my coaches all the time, man, like I got the best coaching staff in the state. I wouldn't take anything for any of those guys, man. Like, they're second to none. They're first class. They take care of their business, man. They take care of those kids. And again, just the fact that, the wheels didn't fall off of that thing, in the midst of all that turmoil, man. It's just a testament to those assistant coaches. And man, listen, I tell y'all, public testament to those guys. And I just want to tell them, I appreciate every one of those assistant coaches. But, again, it went really fast, if I'm being honest. We got to talking about the whole process, and I think, I accepted the job on a Friday, and I was doing spring practice at Milan, and so I had to kind of tie up some loose ends there, and then I actually got to come over here like that following Wednesday, maybe the 24th or something like that of February, and then crazy enough, I talked to the coaches. I'm like, listen, man, I said, y'all have y'all's thumb on the heartbeat of this football program. I said, I'm going to yield to you guys. Like, I know we had spring practice scheduled for this day. I said, if you guys feel like we're ready to do spring, I trust you. And a lot of them are like, man, I think those kids, they need to go out and do spring. And
it's almost like a distraction for them
absolutely.
At that point, just to get out there and play and hit.
And I think they were right, man, because those kids get out there and they done spring ball. And again, it was just really exciting, again, just to be back out there, in Big Red. And get those kids out there and and practice again, because that's my thing, man. Like I've always just been a really hands-on coaching, and it's different in Henry County because we got such a large coaching staff. But I tell them, hey, listen, I'm gonna coach something. Like I can't walk around and just kind of be, be quality control. Like I'm gonna get my hands dirty with something, because that's just where I am. But again, I think, us doing spring, man, just kind of really helped us get over that, that hump of, 3 head coaches in, 6 weeks, type of deal. So we had, we had a good spring, man. And again, I was just really excited about, some of those guys that I worked with before, again, seeing their maturation, just seeing some of those young guys, because I had worked with all those kids except the kids that are freshmen about to be sophomores. So I'd seen those other 2 classes. And just getting the opportunity to see the talent in that grade, and just build some relationships with those kids and that's kind of what I focused on, because I know what they've been taught on the football side. So I've really focused on just trying to build some relationships with those kids that I didn't know, and now that's probably been the most exciting part for me. Just just learning some of those kids, and man, just being back around some of those kids that I already knew. So.
Just finished up spring practice not too long ago, and then went down to Lexington, right, for spring scrimmage, however you want to call it. How do we look? Excited about the way things shaped out down there?
Man, I thought we put some good stuff on film. Again, just considering all the stuff they went through, I thought those kids went out there and put their nose to the ground and got busy. We got after Lexington a little bit. I know they were without some of their baseball and basketball kids, but I didn't care about that. Sure. I just wanted to see our kids go out there and compete. Man, they did. We went out there and competed every down. We done some stuff that we need to clean up, but that's spring ball.
Sure.
That's a part of spring football. You just want to get out there and see if kids are going to compete, and one, see if they're going to compete, and 2, just see if they're going to be physical. Because that's the brand of football we're going to play, right? Like if you're not going to hit, when you put on Henry County jersey, you probably need to find something else to do. So but I think we found a few kids that wanted to hit, man. And like I said, we went down there to Lexington, and I think that we scored like 3 or 4 touchdowns to 0. Good. So. So, we had a good showing. Again, put some stuff on film that I like, put some stuff on film that we need to clean up. But, again, that's spring ball. And, as a coaching staff, we've been talking about some stuff that we saw from spring that we want to fix going into the summer and getting ready for the fall. So, I think we got a good plan. And, again, the cupboard's not bare. We got some really, really good kids that I think are going to help us come the fall.
And so right now, you kind of talk about this if you want to, but TSSAA kind of sets a calendar for when y'all can do stuff and when you can't do stuff. Obviously, right now you can't, right? And so you're in the weight room. Assume that's going well and liking what you see during the school day while they're there working out.
Yeah. Of course, we have a very unique situation. We got 4 periods that we have kids that coming down there lifting. So, we get to break up the groups like that. We kind of got smaller groups and. Again, they have not let up in the weight room. Coach Gregory has been running the weight room. He's been doing a phenomenal job. Those kids, they come down there every day, and they put the pedal to the metal and they get after it. And you could tell it by looking at them in there, man. They're putting on some muscle.
Sure.
And they're getting faster and more explosive. And they're putting in the work that you have to in order to win on Fridays in August. Football games in August are won, sometimes in December to May. That's just what it is.
And a lot of folks I don't think understand that.
Yeah.
Of course, that I know that. Like that was Coach Counts' philosophy. I noticed there was a picture you had on Facebook. I don't know if it was the one we used, but like the shirt said something like "My season depends on the work that or something like that."
Yeah.
And so like that work starts well before August when those lights come on Friday night.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I've never been a part of a program where we won games because we started working on winning games in August. The foundation was laid, in December in the weight room, and the culture was built in January and February in the weight room, and the expectation for what brand of football we're gonna play was laid, in March and April, and and again, everybody that's in coaching, they know games are won and lost in the off season. I mean, that's just what it is, and again, that's why I can't say enough about those coaches, man. Again, continuing to keep the standard. And pushing those kids to do things they know they need to do to make sure we're going to be successful in the fall.
Right. So when do you get to put the pads back on and get out there and hit again this summer? Right. I mean, I know it's this summer, but when is that?
Well, the TSSAA calendar, won't let us start heat acclimation till week 3 or 4. I can't remember. I think it's that third week of July after the dead period. We get to do heat acclimation. We can kind of do half pads.
Sure.
And, we can't go full pass to that last week of July, right before we do that first scrimmage. So, now, we're going to be out there practicing, and, we can do stuff with helmets on the whole summer.
Right.
And we are going to, again, build our brand of football without pads on. You can be as physical as you want to be without pads, minus the tackling and taking it to the ground, So we're gonna put helmets on, and we're gonna block, and we're gonna work on tackling and all that stuff. This summer before long before we get to that third week of July when we put pads on. But and again, that's just part of it. It's one of those things. If programs are gonna be good like that, they're gonna do that stuff. So we're gonna do it, and we're gonna try to do it at a high level. And when we put pads on, we're just gonna reaffirm the stuff that we've done without pads. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I know that, like the build up to August and those Friday nights, there's nothing like it. And I say that, Mike, had a son that played for several years for the Patriots. And one of my favorite things to do, even in the summer, was to go out and watch those practices because they're intense, but it gets you ready. I know you're getting the kids ready, but those practices get us fans ready to watch some Henry County football on Friday nights.
That's right. That's one of the things I found so fascinating when I was here. Maybe not fascinating, but I thought it was so awesome. Is, man, you might get 25, 30, 40, 50 people out there practice every day, man, and people are crazy about Henry County football over here, man, And that's one of the things that makes this place so attractive to coaches. I've talked to some guys like, man, that's the best place ever. This long before I got to if I can get over to Henry County. And, I didn't take it for granted when I got an opportunity to come over here, man. And, they did not lie. And I tell this story all the time. I told it in my interview, just about the culture of Henry County, just the football and the town. I was at, I've gone to the state championship every year since I've been coaching. I probably missed maybe 2 or 3 just because the weather, I wasn't going to go stand out in the rain, a few of those years. But I can remember distinctly in 2013. And, I was up there, we're at Tucker Stadium at Cookeville. And I just remember how many people were in those stands. And I was on the side, with Henry County. I'm just looking around. I'm like, man, this is a college stadium. And I'm like, they have every seat over here on the home side of Tucker Stadium taken up. And, everybody's out there with the towels, it's roll, red, roll. And, man, it was just a really cool atmosphere to be a part of, as a coach, sitting in the stands, with the fans, man. And obviously that just showed me again when I got over here, like, man, like that's a really cool place. That's something I want to be a part of. And, I'm blessed to, have a chance to be over here. So.
Well, I say this all the time, and people, sometimes they listen to me, I don't, whatever, but we've traveled enough with the different things that I get to do with the radio station and kids playing sports, whatever. The support of Henry County athletics. I know we're here talking football, but just the athletics as a whole is unmatched anywhere that we go. And that's a testament to the fine folks of Henry County and their love for these kids and love for the program itself, because all these other places we go, on away games, we'll have more fans at their home stadium than they will. And then just as you said, I think John can probably, John, if you're watching, comment on this and let us know. But I know at one point, I think Henry County had the record for the most ticket sales. Maybe it was pre-sale for the state championship game or whatever. And it's like even the guys commented and were just like, I think all of Henry County is here at this football game. But that's the support that the people here in this town have for all of their programs. And you see it when you go places, and our facilities are top notch, second to none. And I know, everybody feels that, football is king in Tennessee and West Tennessee, and come fall. Yeah, in the fall, absolutely. But the way that Henry County gets behind everything that goes on, whether it's a football game or baseball, or even with the Madrigals the other night, the way they support our kids is really unmatched. And again, that was one of the questions: is what excited you most about coming to coach at Henry County? And I think one of my questions was going to be, is it that support that you see here from the people? Absolutely.
I mean, again, just to piggyback on what you said, man, I mean, the support that the community shows these kids, across the board is just second to none. And obviously, I didn't know the extent outside of the football, until I got over here, in the school. But, man, they just support these kids, man. Whatever they're doing, like, the people of Henry County are going to show up for them. And, and they should, and I wish, every student, in every school, got to experience the support that these kids get. So, kids, if any of the kids are listening, man, like don't take that for granted.
Right.
Like, it is really awesome that, people come out and support you the way they do. And that's why I tell the football players now, I'm like, man, you got to be a good ambassador for the football program, for your families, for the school, because you represent something so much bigger than yourself, and like the way this community travels to support you, man, like you represent them when you go to Walmart, and you got Henry County stuff on. Like, if you in there acting a fool, like you representing this community. So, this community gets behind you. So, you need to be a good ambassador for the football program all the time, just for the school, man. Like, there's a lot of good stuff happening in that school. Like those kids are active in all kinds of things in Henry County. And like I said, the support is second to none. And that is one of the reasons that I was so excited to get over here as an assistant coach and probably doubly so to get an opportunity to come over here as the head coach.
Coach, just real quick, thanks for being on. Number one, just like I said, first show, and I think tickled to death that you were able to come on and be here with us. But hope to have you on a little more, especially getting closer and closer to the fall. But Henry County, kind of what we're known for with football is, we're not one to back down from a challenge. And those non-region games this year prove that. And so I know you've seen the schedule, obviously. Talk about some of those opponents and why Henry County wants to schedule those guys rather than somebody will beat 56-0.
Well, when I was here in 22 and 23, we played Beach, we played Hendersonville, which they were in our region. You got to play good teams.
Sure.
When you are trying to compete for state championships, like you can't schedule wins. Like you got to schedule people that are gonna get you ready for playoff football. So yeah. The schedule is, it's heavy. We got some heavy hitters on there.
I'm just trying to think of it all. I know we play Beach this year again. Of course, now that they have realigned the districts, our district is the Clarksville schools once again in Dixon. So we don't have to take any 2.5-hour road trips for district games, which will be nice. We've still got some scheduled, I think.
Yeah.
We got Beach, we got Page, Brentwood, and then Giles County. Correct. That's a new opponent for us.
Right.
Haywood, always a tough program, and so it's going to be a fun season.
Absolutely.
But some work to be done by these guys before.
Correct. Correct. There ain't no time to kind of get your feet wet,
Sure.
stick a toe in there, see what the temperature is like. It's hot, so we got to get ready for the jump in over both feet because it's gonna be hot. But we're up for the challenge, man. And we've always played tough teams.
Yes.
And it's just one of those things. Like those kids know, we're gonna play tough teams because we're a tough team. And we're gonna be tested, and we're gonna test teams on our schedule. That's just what it is, and we always welcome the challenge. Again, when we get to the playoffs with a schedule like we have, we know what our team is. They're battle tested and they're ready to compete. Deep into the playoffs. So.
Well, and at that level, you can't take any week off. You know what I mean? Like you can't relax one week and think, oh well, we played Beach last week, but this week we can kind of because now you've got Brentwood, and so obviously the folks understand that and know that. As I said, we're not going to back away from a challenge for sure, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. I'm ready for it. To get going. I know you are too.
Absolutely.
And the boys are as well.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I think it's going to be a fun season. I'm just ready. I'm really ready to get to the summer. Like I know we got a few more weeks of school left, but when you get to the summer, like you can smell the grass, growing and being cut, and it's getting ready to be football time. So I'm excited, man. When the pollen starts flying and my eyes start getting red because my allergies are acting up. I'm like, man, it's getting close to football time. So I get excited,
Well, again, Coach, we are tickled to death that you are back at Henry County. Looking forward to a great season, and just appreciate you. I said, just not only coming on, but the work you do with those kids each and every day. As I said, I'm not joking when I said that. When I told somebody that you were the pick for the head coach, they were just ecstatic not because it's somebody that's never played for you, just saw you in the hallways every day, and just the way that you love the kids, the way that you are there and present, it speaks volumes, and I'm really looking forward to what you're going to bring to Henry County football, and I know what a bunch of other people are too.
Man, that's awesome. Like I said, I love kids first. And I think that's been the catalyst for my success in education, first, but as coaching too, because I think this is my ministry, I had an opportunity to get into administration, but man, I was like, man, I think this is my ministry, and I think, I think the Lord still has a few more things that He wants me to do in coaching. I don't know if it's got to do with, more wins, or if I got more people that I need to try to, figure out how to make them a better, husband, father, leader in the community, because I think that's what football does for young men, and man, and that's what gets me up to go to work every day, knowing that the stuff that we're giving them with this game is going to make them, be better husbands, fathers, lawyers, doctors, the trash man, whatever they decide to do in life, man. I think the lessons and principles that they learn playing football is going to make them better. So, so that's my motivation, man. It is.
Again, Coach, we appreciate you. First show, thank you for being on here with me. And as I said, I know a bunch of people are looking forward to what you're going to bring to Henry County football. And as we wrap it up tonight, again, want to thank Coach Josh Wolfe for joining us here at the Brewer Street Mafia Studios. And so next week, we'll have Coach Renee Laster with the Henry County Lady Patriots softball. But again, thanks to our sponsors, to Junior Stags and Auctioneer University, as well as Tater's Restaurant out on the Lake Highway. Go by and see them. But next week, same time here at 7:30. Don't forget, go to the Facebook page, like, share, subscribe, do all of that stuff so that we can be streaming on Facebook here pretty soon. But again, Coach Wolfe, appreciate you being here. Look forward to having you on a bunch more as the season gets closer and as the season goes on. And so thanks to Coach Josh Wolfe for joining us tonight. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you tuning in. Again, I'm just a guy that enjoys talking sports. I don't consider myself an expert at it by any stretch of the imagination, but I just enjoy sitting down talking about some sports and whatever's going on. So I appreciate the opportunity to do so. Hey, listen, if you want to be a part of the program and sponsor us, let me know. You can shoot me a message or get in touch with Mike Weatherford and let us know that you want to help sponsor SportsCast with Jeremy Buckelew so that we can keep bringing you content every week. We'd appreciate it. But until next week, be good to yourself and to each other, and we'll see you next week at 7:30. Have a good night.